Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of The Sit Down on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host tonight, Nathan Bomber Brown, and with me is my co-host and partner in all that we do. That would be Moen. How we doing tonight, Moen?
Hanging in there. I'm just enjoying New Orleans.
Hey, you look good. I think you look great. Yeah, it's nice to have you on. What is that called down there? It's not the
Bourbon.
Strip.
It's Bourbon Street.
Bourbon Street. Thank you. Yeah, I've never been, so I can't claim that I know that area. But yeah, you look good anyway. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. This is sort of off the cuff. You know, we try to leave a window open every week to have a show. Since we've modified our format, we want to be able to go live with stories that are just breaking or have real interest. And tonight, Moen, can we get any bigger than the big two meetings of the Big Ten and the SEC?
I don't believe so. I mean, this meeting is probably going to do more to shape college football in the next 20 years than I think any other meeting.
Yeah, you know what? It's hard to deny that. It's quite possible it is. I think there's still some noise to work out. Certainly, we have meetings next week on the CFP, and then Bob's going to be joining us after that meeting, and we're going to do a resource review of both of these and kind of see where he thinks we're at. But I probably will look back in 10 years and say that was the one. That was the one where the two biggest guys in the room decided we're going to do what we want to do.
Absolutely. This is the future. This is the future.
I need to do a quick shout out for Earl Carr. The other night on a show last week, he did 5 memberships, and I don't have any of the Sounders. I don't have any of those things. And
here's some good news for Bomber, guys. I've got Bomber a soundboard. I just need to send it to him, and I keep forgetting. I'm going to send him one. He can pre-program his, but since he didn't have one for you, Earl Carr, I'll give you one.
And what is that? There we go, Cougars. Let's go,
there
baby.
You go. There's the Cougar for Earl Carr.
That will definitely make Earl happy. And I'm going to follow that up with a comment from his tonight. To start the show, Earl Carr, member extraordinaire and OG. He was, I think, in the top 5 of our original members. I don't care about the meeting. It's nothing more than them figuring a way to stick it to the ACC and Big 12. Let's ask a direct question, Moen. Where's the Big 12 in terms of this meeting versus the ACC?
I'm of the firm belief that the Big 12 is in a better position than the ACC is. I think in 2026, I think the Big 12 is going to be very happy with the playoff format. I think the Big 10 and SEC are obviously going to be happy. Notre Dame's going to be happy. The only one I think won't be happy is the ACC. And sorry for the ACC, but they've kind of painted themselves into their own corner with that.
I have a follow-up to that, but right now, let's get Earl Carr doing another 5 memberships, Earl.
Wow. Gift bomb. Gift bomb. Thank you, Earl Carr. Let me go ahead and give you a whoa, Nelly.
Whoa, Nelly.
Yeah, baby. Yes.
Eddie Williams, Richard L., Caleb Pratt, Richard Ledford, Sharpshooters Podcast. You are all gifted memberships from our friend Earl Carr, the Cougar. Make sure you thank Earl Carr in the chat or in a comment if you're watching on demand.
And I always follow that up by saying karma is real. Karma lives in our lives every day. And if you receive something for free, it's good karma to pay that forward. So I would encourage anybody who's received a membership, first, check us out. Watch our shows. Go to our main page. I'm going to bring up our page to show everybody how extensive our library of videos are. And these videos are getting more and more sophisticated. And a lot of them are members only. So these new members, this is what you do. After our show tonight, let me get this off here. Thank you so much, Earl. You know I appreciate you. I know Moen does. I know Wild Ute does. The rest of the team. But this is where we're at for videos. Members only, members only. Let's just title them real quick. Maybe you care about those things. Mountain West expansion, the best Louisiana team to add. Pac-12 expansion targets. Data reveals best fits. Moen Rants, Notre Dame, a.k.a. Shamrocks, Snowflakes, strike again. That one was thrown in. I only care about the previous two, and they're there for you. So you want to be at the head of the table. You want to be the smartest guy at the water cooler. If you have a water cooler anymore, become a member and watch these videos. I promise you, one, you're never going to find better quality, and two, the data is more rich than you're going to get from anybody else. One other thing, we do not stretch the truth. If we don't know it, we'll say it. If it's something that we're not sure about, we'll say it. We're not sure about it. And we encourage everybody else to do the same thing. So appreciate it again, Earl. You're a stud. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, Bomber. And just want to say, we're talking about New Orleans. Less than an hour ago, dropped a new member video. Best fits for the Mountain West in the great state of Louisiana. And great job by Wild Ute on that video. I definitely recommend everybody who's a member check that out.
Earl Carr bops in and says, hey, Bomber, how about them Cougars beat Kansas last night by 34?
Yeah, I think that was
points.
The worst loss in Kansas history.
Not the worst loss in Kansas history. They lost to USC in 2003 by the same 34 points, but that's Bill Self's worst. I don't know. Go past 2000, I'm not sure. There has to be games that they lost more than that. But regardless, 34 points in modern day college basketball is extremely rare. It doesn't happen very often, not to teams that are blue bloods.
Power dynamics shifting in the Big 12 basketball arena.
Absolutely. Money does that. NIL does that. Profit sharing does that. Revenue share. Sorry. All right, let's do some shout outs before we get to some of these stories. The Big Lubbock is first in the house. Good to see you, Lubbock. Texas Tech going. Let's go. Steele Austin, a recent member, but man, he's been active and we really appreciate that. Second, he's in the house. Skaven, yes, says he's last. He's really not last. He's third. All three of these guys have been members or are current members of the Mafia family, and we love seeing those guys in green when I'm going to pull these quotes. This is me saying, what's up, everybody? I hope you have a fun time tonight. Moanopoly, another brand by Moen, says he's forced. That's good to have him. Antoine Johnson, ASU struggling right now a little bit in basketball. Danny Hurley's got to turn that program around. He's trying. Antoine Johnson, another valuable member, says hello. Good to have you here. Illini Ted. And we're covering the country. We go from Arizona all the way up to Illinois. He says hello. Daniel Gygax, representing West Virginia and the great state of California, which is where he lives right now. Me and Daniel are getting together next week for a BYU basketball game. West Virginia at BYU. We'll do videos. And I think that day's Friday, so we're actually going to be part of the show together in the house.
All right, very cool.
We'll have to try that. Skaven yes says hello, gentlemen. Go Big Red. FF18 Buffs, we got to get you in here, Fergie. We need to do another show. Let's hey, remind me next week, Monday or Tuesday, if you're available. Let's do a show. We'll talk Colorado and we'll talk basketball up and down for the Big 12. Let's see here. Want to get more shout outs? Daniel, Earl, we did. David Floyd checking in. Good to have you here, David. ESPN and Fox Sports have enabled the SEC and Big Ten to destroy college sports. What do you think about that statement?
Again, I mean,
enabled.
Okay. Let's Earl Carr dropped another gifted member bomb. Let's get to that. Then I'm going to give an analogy. I promise it'll make sense, but you'll have to carry with me for a second.
All right, let me bring that up. There you go. Another 5 gift memberships.
Absolutely. He is on fire. Earl Carr is on fire. He's making it rain. Let's give
can we get a milking in there somewhere? That's 10 memberships, bro. Let's drop it. What are you saving it for?
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
Austin he needs some milk.
There we go.
He needs some milk.
Finally, we'll hit him with
Let him cook.
Yes.
Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let
him cook. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
K-State Scott, Ryan, KS Bear Fan, Soap, Rectangle were all gifted memberships to the family, the College Football Mafia family. if you guys are in chat, make sure you give a big thank you to Earl Carr. He does a lot for us. We appreciate him to infinity and beyond. Again, you guys got some great a brand new membership video to check out from Wild Ute University.
Yep.
He takes a look at the best candidates from Louisiana for the Mountain West Conference. We got a lot of great public videos coming too. So if you're watching us over on Twitter, please head over here to YouTube, hit subscribe. I know Ute's doing one on the Gulf states, the best fits in the Gulf states, Mountain West candidates in the MAC possibly.
And I would add to that, anything that anything that affects the Mountain West by default is going to affect the Pac-12.
Absolutely. And we've also got a Big Ten Mafia short coming up tomorrow. We're recording, grading the offensive and defensive coordinator hires in the offseason. So lots of exciting stuff happening around here for the College Football Mafia, for members and just general public alike. So
I want to add something else. I'm glad you said about Twitter. Everybody knows that Twitter and YouTube don't always play nice together. If you're watching us right now on Twitter and you like what you're seeing, jump over to YouTube. At least just go to our page, College Football Mafia or Big 12 Mafia. We'll get you there too. And hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up on the video. We still need those YouTube analytics. That's really, really important. I don't want that to get away from us. We appreciate everybody watching on X. Feel free to leave your comments. We read those as well. But we can really use your subscriptions. So I'm not going to say that again. That's done. But it is a big deal for us. If you have the time, just jump over to the webpage and check us out. All right. So let's go back to this comment I started. Okay. We wouldn't forget. Go ahead.
Okay. So I understand that people are afraid of change. But there's always been change in college football, guys. I can remember, I don't want to date myself and say how old I am, but I can remember when the Big 8 effectively killed the Southwestern Conference. And everybody said that was the end of college football as we know it. Or when the ACC went in and raided the Big East and took Miami and Pitt and Syracuse and all those great Big East teams and added them to their conference. And then the ACC was going to be the dominant force in all of college athletics. And both
the Alliance. Don't forget the Alliance.
Let's not forget Texas A&M and Mizzou, Bolton for SEC country.
Nebraska going Big Ten. They're all
Colorado going Pac-12 and then coming back to the Big 12.
Yep.
There's always going to be change in college football. I don't think it's a good idea to get locked into the idea that it's always going to be terrible. It's going to be different. That's clear. But I mean, college football, just like anything else, it has to evolve. I don't agree with the idea that they're just going to yank access from the ACC and Big 12. I think there's room for everybody at the table. I think
probably a decade away from something like that happening.
I still don't ever think that's going to happen. I'm
not saying it will, but I think it's going to take time.
Sure.
It's going to take more sifting, more purification of the process. Let the NIL and the revenue sharing kick in and now see who are the programs that are really going to step up, right? Who are the programs, like I can speak for BYU, who threw down $5 million on a first-time head coach. $5 million, and then backed it up by getting the #1 recruit in all of college basketball next year, and that was all money. Nobody's denying there was money spent there. If you want to be a player, if you want to compete against Ohio State, I think you should have to pay the toll. That includes my BYU. If they don't step up and pay money to keep their team, I don't know, even relevant on the football field, probably don't deserve to be there. And that's right. This filtering and this sifting that's going to take time. But that's why a super league is a little bit away, unless it's a super league that includes 70 teams.
Right. But right now, the Big Ten and the SEC are the super conferences. I mean, you go back and look historically, the Big 12 was the first super conference.
Right.
You brought in Texas A&M, combined them with Oklahoma, Nebraska. Colorado was coming off a national championship. That was a super conference. And the Big 12 now is considered one of the lesser conferences. The ACC was the same way. They went and grabbed the Miami Hurricanes, who had 5 national championships in a 20-year run. they were considered the next super conference, and they're kind of on the outside looking in. So I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC are there forever. I think there's room for everybody. I think there's clearly room for the Big 12 and the ACC to go up. It's just how they play their cards.
I agree with that 100%. Here's a question for you. Earl Carr, another $10 super chat. Man, Earl's on fire tonight. Let's give him something else. You got something else special to give him on?
Let's see here. What do we got? Let's do a let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. And that's legitness.
Okay.
That was legitness. Yeah.
Very good. We need those sounders.
Uh,
Earl Carr. Sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, Moen, from an outsider point of view, what do you think of Tom Homo retiring? That will affect football in all sports at BYU. Tom, what little I know about him, he seems to be from the old school. And I think you're looking at college football in general and college athletics in general are moving to the GM type of athletic director.
They already have a GM.
Mm-hmm. They've got a GM for football, but I'm talking about for athletic directors.
No, I think they have one for both. They have a basketball GM as well.
Sure, but
Aaron Torres was talking about that last night.
Yeah, sure, but I'm saying the athletic directors.
Their job's evolving.
Yes, their job's evolving.
Yeah.
So I think you look at Ross Bjork at Ohio State. I mean, he was brought in basically to raise money, and that is exactly what he has done. He has raised tens of millions of dollars to put into the football program. I don't think it's a bad thing to get youth in there, get a new age guy in there who has a firmer grasp of where this thing is going. I mean, I know a lot of people, youth and exuberance and all this stuff, but you know, sometimes having a young guy who can think outside the box,
Kevin Young, the basketball coach,
can really help you out. I mean, because you know, the people who are the old guys are set in their ways. Gene Smith was the same way at Ohio State, and you know, once they got Ross Bjork in there, Ross Bjork shook things up and started changing things and fired a coach. But I mean, he's been doing nothing but raise money. First year there, national championship football program, and he extended his head coach and, you know, helped bring in Matt Patricia from the NFL. So I like the idea of letting some of these old guys kind of, you know, I don't want to say kick them in the butt out the door, let them sunset, let them retire, bring some new guys in.
I'm going to bring up one school that is the epitome of this, and this is the University of Utah.
As far as
the way they run their athletic department, the basketball team is actually playing well. They just beat Kansas State and Kansas. Nothing, not a peep from their athletic department or their PR, like an announcement, a score, nothing to trumpet the fact that they swept the Kansas schools. I think Utah needs not only a new head coach, but they need a whole new perspective on the athletic department. Somebody that looks at it like a business, as you've just dictated.
Yes, I think the only problem with the head coach change, I think you have to make sure you get the right head coach.
Oh, sure. I mean, that goes for everybody. I mean, that's,
yeah. I don't think you can push Kyle out the door unless you have somebody you know can match what Kyle Whittingham has done there.
Well, you already got a coach. Scally is the head coach in waiting. So
he's the head coach in waiting. So I mean, you better make damn sure. I mean, that's what Ohio State did with Ryan Day and Urban Meyer. They made sure they got the right guy.
I understand. Let's do some more shout outs. Edward, the Auburn Tiger, says, let's go. Let's see here. Clint Moses checking in for OSU, Oregon State, that is. P2, the rest are G5s. Last year showed at times Boise State will be above the ACC and Big 12. I still think the schedules, they're not comparable, Clint, but we'll know because those walls are shrinking. If Boise State keeps winning and keeps beating, let's just say they go out and beat Nebraska. They travel and they beat in Arkansas. Not many people are going to go up to Boise because it's bushwhack country. But say you could get one big name up there that's not BYU or Utah. Oregon probably never play it in Boise again. So that's what needs to happen. And when I say Boise State, you can sub in Washington State, you can sub in Oregon State, you can sub in San Diego State. I don't care who it is. Those teams have to keep winning and win and win and win. And it's not, you can't rely on what's come in the past. People leave. Jaunty's gone. How are you going to replace his offense?
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
we'll
we're going to
see.
have to see how that pans out. But I think it's important for these G5 schools and every school to remember Oregon 20 years ago was
25 years ago.
25 years ago was not.
Yeah.
I mean, they were one of the worst teams in the Pac-12.
Actually, it's like 28 years ago was 97. Mariota was 90. Achilles Smith, and then not Mariota. Achilles Smith is who I'm thinking of.
You're thinking Dennis Erickson came there, and Dennis Erickson had some success with them, and then Chip Kelly came in.
But
Mark
that was farther. That was later.
Yeah.
I'm just talking when they got started, when they got the money from Nike. It started like 96, 97, 98, something like that.
One of the things that made them great was they would travel to play anybody.
That's right, as you have to when you're growing your program.
And I think that's the thing. If you're a Boise State, you're not going to get a home game against maybe a Georgia, but by all means, schedule them and go on the road to play against Georgia.
Texas A&M.
Schedule them.
They love playing non-conference people at home.
Yeah, that's the best way to show that you can hang is to schedule as many of those non-conference opponents
for
as you
any of the other schools.
Yeah.
Boise's just the exemplar right this second. Next year, it could be Oregon State or Washington State or any other school for that matter. Shonsky says, hi, everyone. Good to see you, Shonsky. It's going to change in football, too. I think that was to a comment earlier. I don't know which one it is, but thanks, Shonsky. Thank you for being a valuable member, Shonsky. We appreciate you around here. Your contributions to the channel really, really help us. Steele Austin, again, a newer member. Good to have you here. Let's be honest, losing to Utah was Kansas' worst loss. Worse than losing by 34 to BYU even. Haha. I would have to agree. Yeah. If you compare rosters and how much money Utah basketball has been given, he's exactly right. He's exactly right. Let's see. Me versus Echo Chamber. Good to see you, man. What's up, gang? Good to see you here. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate everybody spending the time. Let's see. Scrolling down to any others that I didn't say hi to. Daniel Gygax, West Virginia. Moen, the Big 12 was formed in 1996. The SEC set the pattern in 92, going to 12 schools first. I think Moen said that in our offline chat. He did say that, Daniel, but you're exactly right.
Yeah, but I think everybody considered the Big 12 the true, because at the time, 92, the SEC, I'm not going to say it was terrible, but it was clearly not the SEC that we have now.
No, 15 years ago, it wasn't the SEC we have now.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was before Nick Saban, all that stuff. And when Texas joined Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Colorado, those four monster schools, because Colorado was just coming off the national championship.
Yep.
You had Texas A&M in there too. That was huge. The Big 12 was probably considered the first super conference.
So I am going to put out the invitation. I'm going to post the link on StreamYard. You want to join Moen and I for a few minutes? Do it. Click that link and join us. And then maybe in a little bit we'll do open phone lines if Moen can get that working. So, but first, if you want to join the show tonight, just for a few minutes, click that link I just put in the comment section. Pop in. You don't have to turn on your video if you don't want to, and ask a question or just get involved. Sergeant Pickles, contributor extraordinaire. Some big stuff coming from Big Ten Mafia. College football musical chairs has started again, and the number of seats is going down. That's exactly right. The bus is getting smaller. There is no doubt about it. Let's see. Here's somebody else new. Glenn Hanna. Good to see you, Glenn. We need to get a membership icon next to your name so it's green all the way across on my screen. 1994-95, Oregon turned around. Yeah, see, he's right.
I think that's the Dennis Erickson.
It's essentially 30 years.
Yes.
When you talk about they've been relevant for used to be a joke to go to Oregon, and that's not knocking Oregon. They just didn't put money. It was all track and field for the University of Oregon. It wasn't. Oregon basketball was good sometimes, but football was. Thanks for coming. Good to see you. And now, obviously, they're a machine. Played in the Rose Bowl versus Penn State and lost, but things started to change. You're exactly right. And you've got a monster there now, Glenn. We
Yeah.
both, all of us know
And
it.
it's because they went out of their way to go across. They went wherever they
did.
needed to go to play games. They went to play big marquee matchups.
I still
So,
think they do. They were Oklahoma State 2 years ago.
2 years ago, there was 2 or 3 years ago, they got blown out by Georgia. I don't know if
Yes.
you remember that. I think that was the
Of
first
course I
game of
do.
the season.
Yeah.
But hey, they were going up there to play the defending national champ Georgia.
That's
They
right.
weren't shying away from it. So
Yep. Yeah, BYU used to do that and still does to a certain extent. But they do it for a different reason. They do it for a mission. Like it's a mission. It's part of the mission statement, getting the school's name out there, which is why I think, the focus, that character, what's to say, the planning, everything that we do, Moen, the schools that are winning in all sports are the ones that have character, and they have a value they've assigned to themselves, a value other people have given them, and then they go out and expound on that. It's part of a plan. It's not hodgepodge. It's not we're going to take from here to feed this so that we're really good at this. It's part of a larger plan, and those schools are going to be the most successful.
yeah,
Joe
I
Z.
think it's leadership.
Yeah, that's
Leadership.
another. Yeah, that's right. Joe, boy, you just hit my keyword for tonight. Everybody, look up leadership, please, and look at the world and just think leadership. And I suggest we have more leadership in our lives. Joe Z, good to see you, Joe. Found my pants. It's a good evening. That's fantastic. I love it. Good to see you, Joe. Ryan Willie, Badger extraordinaire in the house. Longtime member for the College Football Mafia family on Wisconsin. This evil Badger is bleeping mad.
Not happy with the Luke Fickle extension.
Is that what it is?
I would assume so, but I wasn't shocked with it coming out of Wisconsin. That's generally how they've done things with their coaches. So we'll see. I mean, he's not getting fired after this season, Ryan. I'm sorry, he's not. They're going to give him 2 more years at least.
Oh man, that's so frustrating when you're unhappy with a coach or a system. Believe me, I've got those myself. Sooner in Texas, good to see you, Sooner. At Sergeant Pickles, even though Big 12 and ACC are getting guaranteed 2 bids, you think their access is going down. I think the point is, one, nothing can change this year without unanimity across all the parties, Notre Dame and all the conferences. It has to be unanimous. So there might be small tinkering. Maybe they add 2 games, but the meeting that happened today and has been working up to today is about 2026 and forward. So
Yeah.
that's where they're at.
Yeah, nothing's going to get passed this year. Before we came on the air, Pete Thamel actually had a tweet out that they're going to have a call.
Yeah, let me go to that. Really quick. Go ahead.
They're going to have a call between all the A4 commissioners. I'm going to assume the Notre Dame AD, Pete Bivak, was in there as well. They're going to give them an update of what transpired in the SEC Big Ten meetings in New Orleans and potential steps ahead for the CFP. They're just trying to be everything,
in the
open as they can be.
Yep.
There's a possibility things could change this year, but I don't think you're going to get things to change through. I just don't think you're going to get unanimity. I think you're going to have somebody hold out.
I'm just posting the link for that tweet from Pete Thamel. We give credit whenever we can remember. Sometimes we miss it, but it's not on purpose. Pete Thamel's tweet, check it out. He's got a couple articles out today as well. So I always encourage people to go see those people.
There's a follow-up right there underneath it. If you guys can see that. Greg Sankey made clear today that he wanted to share with colleagues potential next steps for the CFP in 2026 and beyond.
They don't want to be accused of collusion.
Right, but he wants this out before they get articulated publicly.
Right.
So probably early next week, we're going to hear somebody's going to leak something.
Somebody will leak it this weekend.
And we're going to hear what they're looking at for 2020.
If it doesn't come Friday, it could come. They do big news dumps on Fridays. It's possible, but I agree with you. Over the weekend is when I'd see an article, probably a special. You'll have leaks here and there, but a full report probably won't come out till Saturday or Sunday. That would be my guess. Let's see here. Immaculate checking in. Good to see you, Immaculate. Well, hello there. Good to see you. Daniel Dilly, valuable member of the family. All the money Phil Knight has spent and still no natty, and likely never will win a natty. I would never say never. Money does get you the access and all the players. Honestly, it takes time to build that character. I think they've got all the skill, they've got all the coaching. They're missing a vital element that nobody can pinpoint. And once they do that, they might win 2 or 3 in 5 years. Once they get over the top and get one.
I think they're going to win one here in the next 10 years or so. I
would say 10 years horizon. I would agree with
Dan
that.
Lanning, I think, is a good coach. I think he's going to get them ready. They're getting very good players in there. Nobody can deny that.
Right.
Yeah, they're paying them, but they're getting them in there.
Yeah, that's the system now, though. Let's quit talking about the paying.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to drop that lexicon. Everybody's paying players. It's done. It's over. No reason to talk about it anymore. You're either a player, meaning you're an organization that can pay, or you're not. And that's what I think is going to separate for the Super League. It's going to be the teams, let's say 40's the number, the 40 teams that are willing to dedicate everything they need to stay top shelf.
Yeah, I think with the big and the SEC in particular, I think they're going to make every school pay the maximum.
I think
don't
there's
think
going to
any
be some
school-
mandates in there.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a mandate that everybody goes to the maximum. And there's going to be some Big 12 schools that do that. BYU, perfect example. There's no reason BYU can't go to that maximum.
Oh, no, they are.
Yeah. There's no reason
are.
Colorado can't go to that maximum, guys.
Right.
Texas
right.
Tech. I don't see any Texas Tech Red Raiders in here tonight.
We did have one.
Big Lubbock.
in here.
Big Lubbock.
Yeah,
Who's
Lubbock's
the first one in here. They have a booster that's pouring cash into that football program as we speak.
They're rebuilding as we're speaking right now.
Yes, this does not mean that there are not schools in the Big 12 or the ACC that can win national championships.
Right.
There are absolutely going to be schools like that. Now, there's going to be other schools that just can't afford it. They can't for one reason or another. I think those schools, it's unfortunate for them, but they can still give student athletes some opportunities, and I think that's a good deal.
Sorry, I was in the middle of a thought. I'll come back to that. Everything you said, I 100% agree with, and I think we're going to get there. Again, this is just going to take time. Everybody wants instant gratification. If the Big 12 and the ACC can get 2 teams in every time, I would unfortunately got to be happy with that. Just have to, and live in that reality for a while.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Let's say this season the Big 12 got 2 teams in. Who would you? I mean, obviously you're a BYU guy.
I think BYU would have won a game.
Okay.
With that defense.
Okay.
I'm not saying the championship, but I think that first game they would have bushwhacked somebody.
If they made basically Colorado BYU a play-in game that was played the same way as the championship game.
Which is what I would support.
Okay.
I would love playing games. I love the sub games to get to the auto games. And I don't care who wins the conference.
Right. And the
that
same
does
thing
not
with
matter to me at all.
The same thing with Miami this season. Although they probably would have put in SMU. Yeah, I don't know how it's all going to work out in the postseason, but I think more games is better. Having games that matter are better.
I agree.
Having
The
conference
seeding
matchups
is
that
what
matter.
everybody's bitching about now, not having the champion be the auto seed. That's what the debate is this second. And I'm thinking this is what they'll do, Moen. They'll say, we'll give you 2 teams, but you give us reseeding and you give us 14 or 16 teams.
Yeah,
I think that's a trade that they would take to the Big 12 and Big 12 and ACC and say, hey, look, we'll give you 2, but in trade, you're going to lose your auto buy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I still think there should be a safeguard in there where those 2 could potentially get a third one in. Something where,
of course they can. Yes.
Well, not as an at-large, but that one could go away from the Big or the SEC. Like that 4th seed, I don't think should be 100% protected for the Big or the SEC. If that 4th seed ends up being, ranked 16 or 19, and there's a third ACC school that's in the top 12, I think that ACC school should be slotted in there.
At the end of the day, just win. Just win.
I hear you, but with the way the conferences are built now, with the size of the conferences, scheduling screw ups make it, Miami didn't play SMU or Clemson last year.
Yeah, I don't know that fixes, unless we go to those sub games that I just talked about.
Yeah.
That would eliminate those, right? I don't know, Moen. I think you present very good points. It's going to be something they have to work on extended. This is not a one-shot deal. All right, we got 170 people watching us or something like that, watching us live right now. If you take a second, if you're watching on Twitter, jump over to YouTube, hit subscribe. We could really use your subscription. We're trying to get our numbers up. Keep those analytics going. Give us a thumbs up. That's really important. And where's Timothy Green with his normal posts I can just take and put up? It says, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment or question, and become a part of what we're doing here, College Football Mafia Network. This is what we do, and we're only getting bigger.
I don't know where Timothy Green lives at in West Virginia, but we've had some flooding over there. So thoughts and prayers out to those people. We've had it in Southern Ohio here too. So
I didn't know that. That sucks. Definitely thoughts.
Kentucky as well. Kentucky really got the worst of it.
Yikes. No, I did not know that. We do have a super chat. Super sticker from Ricky Tungate. Moen for $5. Thank you so much, Ricky. Did you post a comment? Get into your comments, and I will read your next comment because you didn't have one with the super sticker.
Mr. Hoosier, I think he was just dropping a super sticker for us, but
okay.
We'll give him a bouncy cheeseburger.
I love it.
This is how we keep Greg Pflugar off the channel. We just throw that cheeseburger up and it drives him away.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat, and I'll give him a sound. Yeah, here we go. This is a good one.
Hit it.
If it plays.
Here, I'm waiting for this wonderful drop.
I know, this $80.
Mowing is the word. Mowing is the word.
Let's go.
I give you permission on this day to say mowing.
Thank you for the super sticker.
Thank you so much, Ricky.
Go
Thank
Hoosiers.
you so much. Here's a comment follow-up from Sergeant Pickles. Bomber, the problem isn't paying players. It's that Oregon has to overpay to get the talent they do. Now, I got to tell you, Sergeant Pickles and I are both University of Washington fans. So it's hard to not be a little envious of what they're doing with money. But money will buy wins. It doesn't buy a championship. The only league that works in is baseball or the NBA. That's it. So anyway, I appreciate your comment, Pickles. Thank you so much. Shonsky, turn down your audio if you can. We're getting feedback.
Is that better?
There we go. We can hear you, brother.
Yeah. So what's up?
Oh, nothing much. How you guys doing?
We're doing okay.
We're here.
Hey, hey, what are we doing here, guys? I'm not worried about the college football format, but you guys get this scheduling agreement and your non-conference games aren't going to count against your record because you're going to do a little mini screw-up tournament at the end? How are we going to even rank Notre Dame in the top 15? Because you guys are going to get teams in that aren't even ranked.
Well, that's the thing. I think there needs to be a protection somewhere in there for that fourth seed, Shonsky. I don't think it should be an automatic. I think you should meet some sort of criteria. If a number 8 team beats a number 1 team in this conference playoff, I don't think that necessarily means that the number 8 team should get in. I don't necessarily agree with the idea of a conference play-in game as much as I do ranked matchups where you would take 1 versus 2 would be your championship game, and then you'd have 3 versus 4, 5 versus 6. But if somebody doesn't meet a certain threshold, I would have no problem leaving them out for an ACC or a Big 12 team that did. As far as Notre Dame goes, Notre Dame's got a protected seed. There's nothing we can do about it. They've negotiated that. The ACC, I would have no problem giving the ACC a third automatic qualifier if Notre Dame joined the conference as a full member. But they won't, because unfortunately, the way this was devised with Greg Sankey and Jack Swarbrick, they're guaranteed that playoff spot until 2031.
So, Sean,
okay, Moen, but why can't we set up something like this? Why can't the conference champs and Notre Dame and whatever get in, and the top 10 is set up by the committee? Right. And if we want big games, why don't we have number 11, 8, and 18 in the nation play, number 12 and 17, 13 and 16, and 14 and 15 is playing games to get to 14? That would satisfy everybody, and we'd have really a true national championship.
I don't even know that I have an issue with that, Shonsky, but that's going to come down to the guys in power. I don't know that the Big Ten and the SEC want to do that. I don't think they, unfortunately, they don't want the chance that one of them might lose. But I mean, I don't personally have an issue with that.
Yeah, this scheduling agreement, you guys are going to get placed in your conference. Pretty soon, you guys are going to be sitting guys out because you don't have to win the game. You're still going to be in. It's just going to be a big conglomerated mess.
Let me ask you this, Sean. Let me ask you this.
What?
If you had the 1 versus 16, let's say, and they play and 16 happens to win, are you going to call that, oh, the system screwed up, they never should have been playing 16? Because that's
no. I'm saying if they want big games, have those 11 through 18 play.
I have no problem with playing games. Don't misunderstand. That's fine. But what was the biggest complaint about the system after it was over? That Oregon got shafted by their leg in the tournament.
Okay, but you know what, guys? Whether we like it or not, that's just the region the Pacific Northeast or Northwest is in. They're always going to have a good team there, always. The Big Ten's going to lose 2 of their bids to that side some years.
Yeah, right.
So that's all we did with all this realignment is cause a mess. Now you're saying that their CFP things matter because they've made appearances. So are we just going to guarantee those teams in the Pacific Northwest that they're going to get 2 bids because they've been there before?
Look, at the end of the day, we can only look for what's a realistic future. And right now, whether you like it or not, even the regionality of the Big Ten, or you can say that for the Big 12 for that matter, you're going to have areas that are going to pop up and be better than other regions. There's nothing you do about that. It's the league. The one thing that would fix all this is to have them all in one league. Run it like the NFC and the AFC. But
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Why don't we bring in the 70 teams or 64 and bring back all the old conferences formats and play those divisions to get to a 16-team playoff?
Why, if you do that, why even have conferences?
Because the teams would remain in their conferences. They would still be in the Big Ten. This is just the system that we had run for college football.
Exactly. So in college
so what does it matter?
Well, look, at the end of the day, all we can do is analyze what they're telling us and turn around and try to add some process and reasonableness to it, right? We don't necessarily agree with all this stuff. We're just saying this is what the news is kind of saying we're tending towards. So,
well, and I'm an older timer too. So college football we're taking away what made college football great, guys.
We agree with you.
I completely agree with you, Shonsky, but that happened once we paid players. Once players got paid, it became professional. It was no longer an amateur sport. The one thing I would say, I know people are scared of the scheduling agreement between the Big Ten and the SEC. Let's see what it says first before we all panic about it.
Yeah, that's not done yet.
That
We
is
don't
not
know what
done
that's
yet.
going to look like.
And there's still going to be I think there's still opportunities for the Big 12 to schedule these Big 10 and SEC schools. I would like to see a return to rivalries. I'd love to see Colorado play Nebraska every year. I'd love to see Oklahoma play Oklahoma State every year. I want Bedlam back. I'd love to see Kansas play Missouri every year. There's lots of great cross-conference rivalries that we could potentially bring back. It's just everybody's got to come together and agree on it. And I think Brett Yormark's the guy to get it done. It's just whether or not he can convince Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey of that. But until we actually know the details of the scheduling agreement, we don't know how many games are going to be played, how many games are going to be available, what teams are going to be available. But I think there's opportunities here for the Big 12. The ACC, I think, shot themselves in the foot a little bit with their scheduling agreement with Notre Dame. I think that's going to lessen some of these games. Clemson, South Carolina is probably still going to get played. Florida State, Florida is going to get played. But there's not going to be a lot of opportunities for the ACC teams to cross over anymore.
Hey, Shonsky, we got to let you go. You want to
Okay, buddy.
last words?
Hey, well, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so mad, but I just.
Don't be mad at us.
Oh, I'm not mad at you guys. No,
Okay.
I'm not mad at you.
Okay. All right. Well,
I just,
great to see you.
I just wish. I understand college football's changing, and this is the last I'll say. And it's changing, and I know we're going to play a different way. But why don't, with the power conferences moving up with the House settlement stuff, why don't we just give each conference 4 teams like the NFL and go out from there? And that's all I'll say.
Yep. Okay. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. We'll see you later.
Shonsky.
Hey, we'll see you. Bye.
Bye. I think he has some really good points there. I think everybody needs to not kill the messengers here, though. If you know us, you know our stances are much different than where these negotiations are going. However, it would be naive and stupid of us not to report them and then say, hey, how can you work within this framework?
Yeah, and I think it's important. I mentioned it on Greg's show the other day. Listen, I'd rather people hear the ugly truth than a beautiful lie. If you remember with the Pac-12 dissolution, there was a lot of beautiful lies told out there that really, I think, ended up hurting a lot of people.
Agreed.
It's better to just be straightforward. This is what's happening. If you don't like it, understandable, but this is what's happening. We've got to face it head on. Let's not try and play beautiful lies and antitrust lawsuits and all that stuff. So
we've got Immaculate in the house. Immaculate, good to see you. How you doing?
Gentlemen, how are you? I didn't realize this was a call-in, and I was like, oh, well, I definitely got to call and talk to you guys.
Well, I appreciate it. I want to be clear. We can't go 40 minutes though with you.
No, I honestly don't have 40 minutes in me.
All right, so I'm not even gonna give you a lead up. Give us a quick
I was counting on it. Are we talking just in terms of what's going on
whatever
today?
You called in about right this second.
Open lines.
I just want to say one thing, opening line. Today was not a declaration from the SEC and Big. Today was the opening of negotiations.
Right.
When they said 2025, that's what told us this. And I know there's a lot of people this causes a lot of consternation for, and rightfully so. But when they came out and said that, that meant they were here to negotiate, not to just say this is how we want it and that's it. Because that's the only way they're going to get something done for 2025.
Agreed.
So I thought for everybody, everyone involved, even us Big Ten and SEC folks, because we really shouldn't want this thing to all get separated apart. I thought that was great news because it shows that they can actually start to work together with these folks. And in terms of the Big 12 and ACC, they're going to have to. If they want to run the autonomous conferences, if they want that to work, they got to work with those guys. They got to work with you guys. And I think this was perhaps a little statement along those lines. And so if I'm a Big 12 fan right now, I'm feeling, you got to be feeling a little bit more optimistic than you've been feeling.
I am.
I'm not saying like be optimistic, but like, let a little bit of light in and say, this is a good sign. I still think it's going to go to 16. I think there's you could go either way with the wording that was put out. You could say that they just don't want buys for anyone. I kind of look at it and say I don't think they like buys at all.
I think buys need to go.
I think if you're Ohio State or Oregon, you don't want to buy that first week. You want a home game against number 15 or number 16.
Absolutely.
You want that momentum. You don't want to be an extra week of rust on you when others are playing the week before. I mean, nothing against Ohio State, but Oregon beat Ohio State in that second half. It was 13-7. Oregon won. So you could reasonably argue that the bye actually caused Oregon to lose. And so I think they want nothing to do with it, and that means 16. And if I'm the Big 12 now and I see this, I'm saying, hey, that's fine. We don't need a bye, but we do want a home game. So if we're going to make a deal, then that means conference champions, instead of being in the top 5, have to be in the top 8. So, and that's pretty fair, right? Like if you get ranked 8th, dude, you have a home game, but you're going up against number 9, and chances are that team might have actually been better than you if you're ranked 8th as a conference champion.
This is my argument about the whole reseeding and Oregon got screwed and all that other stuff. If they were going to be a champion, they were going to have to win big games, whatever the round was, right? If you're good enough to win, you're going to show up and win and not get sort of posterized, right?
Yeah, and people were talking about stuff that didn't, like who you have to play or whatever. If you're going to be champion, you play whoever's in front of you. Period.
Exactly.
The problem that I see is we're treating buys like they're a good thing, because what we're used to thinking of with buys is an extra week off, right?
Right.
But really, they were already on like 3 weeks off, so we're talking a lot of rust. But the team that they're playing against got that all out of their system the week before.
Exactly.
So it was just really bad situation. So,
and we know you can win from there. And in the NFL, it's happened 2 or 3 times now.
Sure.
They've won from the 6 or now the 7 seed.
Especially when you have that home game, and it's we didn't know it was going to be such a big deal.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. There was such a great atmosphere. Like these teams carried momentum from those games. It's such an experience for them that they're going into that second game just super hyped up. Honestly, I think that's part of why Texas kind of got out to the fast jump on Arizona State, but also with Arizona State taking that bye hit, man. Locally, I'm feeling kind of bad about this thing, man. If Arizona State didn't have to deal with that, how much longer would they have gone? But because that was twice over a bad thing for them. Texas got the home game boost going into that game, and Arizona State had the rust. Even the running back, he was making comments to local reporters saying he felt queasy the whole first half. That's why he was puking. Like they just
too much adrenaline.
Yeah, and adrenaline. And you're rusty, man. Your body is like taking time off from that. And
if you play, let's say you had instead of a week, that championship game or whatever format that now becomes maybe play-in games, those teams now, it's like they're extending the season, right? It's not now treated as some big standalone event. And that's what makes the NFL great, because you have the essentially play-in games, the wild card games, and then they're basically just adding a second bye to a season, and they just keep going. There's no loss in time, no week 14 or whatever it is for Navy and Army. Just get rid of all that.
So are you saying to bring the CFP closer in, or?
I'm just saying I don't want more than 1 week rest if I'm the top seed.
I think we're going to get there. I think
two weeks is too much. I think.
You know how I feel about this, in the conference playoffs, and that those are going to get expanded, and that's going to take it right up to. Which
I think that would work fine. I don't care either way, as long as everybody's playing the same number of games.
Yeah, I'm just saying I totally agree with you. Like that time off, in my opinion, I mean it's only 1 year's worth of evidence, so it's not.
That's what everybody says, but I don't buy it. It was too.
But it's
absolutely.
There's zero evidence to show that in any case the bye helped.
Absolutely right.
So I tend to say, okay, you can scientifically say we haven't had enough years of it, but you have nothing to say hey, look, this was kind of good. Like there's none. So I think that those two schools want nothing to do it because at 14, if they're going to have 2 buys, guess who's getting it?
Oh, right.
It's a Big Ten and SEC.
Absolutely.
You're not getting your home game.
Yep.
You're getting this buy that may be bad for you. And if someone's going, well, I can't believe they actually want to negotiate. Well, there it is right there. They're so willing to negotiate because they don't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want those buys. So that's
Absolutely.
my take from it is like, this is great news for everyone. This is kind of a nice turn of events where we're going in one direction and now we're going this way.
So are we doing a show next week?
Next week.
Wasn't next week okay on your schedule?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll plan on that, everybody. Let's clap out Immaculate as he gets out the door. It's so good to see Immaculate. Any last words?
Nah, man, it's just good to see you guys. Especially I haven't been on with Moen for a while, so.
Yeah. Hey, remember, just keep us in mind. Ohio State had to beat 5 top 5 teams.
Dude,
yes.
Like my comment about them, Ohio State, we knew this from day one, brother. We knew Ohio State was like the best team.
Yeah, they were my
just
number
had
1 or 2.
Yeah. They just had to get it together. And
yeah.
And I'm not saying they actually would have lost the game if Oregon was playing up because, they kind of went into relaxed mode in that second half. But
yeah,
just saying it. Anyways, we'll see you guys again.
Good to
and
see you.
good to talk to you guys.
Next week, Immaculate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Immaculate. In the house. We've got who we got here, Moen? Sorry, I don't
Fergie
have the...
is next up in the queue, then Jackson Johnson.
Hey guys, how are you tonight?
Doing
We're
good,
doing
Fergie.
good, Fergie. How you do? You got a thought or two?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the Colorado Big 12 mentality, which Moen agreed with me, is that let's get the 2 auto bids set up because it's the best option for the Big 12 teams, period. I don't want to play games anymore. We want to get into the playoff and be ready to compete and try to win a national championship. That's what we're going to be built for. And then immediately after that, I want to clear the deck and get teams that we added 10 years ago, Delaware and Wyoming, off our schedule and get a good couple of games set up purely for revenue, purely for showcase. It helps attract players who want to play in big games. And the non-con, in theory, isn't going to be worth anything because if we win the Big 12, it means we won 9 league games or 8 league games. And we, at this point, need revenue. We need exposure. We need excitement. And if you give us a shot at the CFP, we'll take it. And then, honestly, as much as we always loved the Big 12, wherever the SEC and Big 10 want to take this thing, we want to be ready to be a candidate for one of those leagues. Let's just be honest about it.
I think every school should be saying that it wants to compete.
Yeah. It's almost we're going to definitely support the conference now. We need to make more revenue. We want to support each other. We are doing nobody a favor in basketball right now. The Buffs suck.
Hey, you won a game. You won a game.
Well, UCF, I guess we beat the other black and gold.
UCF, yep.
But I made the comment last year we had 3 NBA draft picks and now we can barely win a game.
There you go.
And I did want to ask Moen something, and this is kind of something we could talk about. You're going to talk about basketball. Is I do tell you there is a conflict in Colorado about sports. We obviously love our football program now, and our basketball team is struggling. We have an old school coach who wants to develop players. That's not the system anymore.
Development, it's one and done, baby.
And so the idea, I mean, Ohio State, ironically, basketball wise, isn't necessarily a world beater. And so we're kind of like, put all the money in football. If we're not going to have a basketball coach that's all in, I mean, Moen, what's your thought on the relationship between a national championship football team and a basketball program?
Well, I think, it's going to come down to each university's personal preference. North Carolina, we're hearing a lot coming out of the University of North Carolina now between Bill Belichick versus the basketball program. He thinks that money that goes towards the basketball program needs to be redirected towards the football program. You're going to have to make that choice. Talk to Greg Pflugar all the time. Greg will tell you they're going to spend more NI or more revenue share money on their hockey team than they are on probably any other per capita than any other sport. I mean, it's going to come down to priorities. If I'm Colorado and you've got Deion Sanders there, and by far you've seen the videos that Utes done, they are a monster when it comes to viewership for the Big 12. You put that money in football.
Yeah.
I understand that, you got to support all your athletics, but look, Colorado's football is what is bringing fans to the stands. It's what's bringing booster money in. It's what's bringing eyeballs. You have to support that. Ohio State's going to be the same way. We're going to have revenue sharing. We're going to pay basketball players. We're going to pay wrestlers. But yeah, the majority of the money, 90% of the money is going to go to football.
Yeah. Well, ironically, I live about 10 blocks from DU, and that school has billionaires everywhere, and their hockey team is national champions. And we spend more, I bet the second most NIL in the state of Colorado is DU hockey. We love the Pioneers, and they win and they pay, and you go where you go.
Well, you win and you go where you go. Money follows success.
Correct.
It's hard to do the reverse. It's hard to have money but not the success, right?
Yeah.
We were just talking about Oregon is a prime example of that. Money, but where's the success? With their payroll, the last 15 years, they should have won the Pac-12 every year. And yet the last 2 years of that conference, Utah won it back to back.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about priorities? What does it tell you about the schools themselves? These are all questions that have to be answered by the program itself. Can't be answered by anybody else. Either you've come to play or you're only doing one or the other. It's very difficult to do both.
I saw a great interview today from what's called our in-house now NIL
our GM.
Our GM.
Yep.
Well, no, we actually have a GM, and we have now a guy that basically manages the budgets of.
What's his name? Because I don't have that. Will you send me his contact?
Yeah, Reggie Calhoun Jr. is his name, and he made a great point about teams
he was a football player, I think.
Yeah, and his dad is our GM.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how basically, I mean, I don't want to throw people under the bus, but I'll say Texas A&M spent millions even before millions were supposed to be spent, and never really won. And he made a point about how if you truly do lead with money, you will have a mercenary team and not a team that's going to purely be focused on football.
That's right.
And that he is focused at Colorado, even though we have glitz and glamour and prime, that you truly want players that love football are going to get rightfully compensated, but they're going to really make a good team. And we feel good about where that's headed. And it really speaks volume about everyone says Texas Tech is going to be good. I'm curious what just flat out buying a team purely looks like versus building it. So,
well, I think the antithesis of that is BYU.
Agreed.
The antithesis is a very unique situation and everything, and donor base that's generally very cheap. LDS people are generally very conservative and they're cheap with their money.
Yeah.
This is one area where they have a chance to spend it without feeling guilty, and that's what's happening now. But this is 10th year for Kalani Sitake. The 10th year. It's taken them this long to get to a point where they could go 11-2 and knocking on the doorstep of the CFP, and it's all around that 7-letter word, culture.
Yeah.
Are you building a culture, or are you building a mercenary team?
Although I would say BYU has one of the most unique situations in that you can get guys back from missions and poly players that are going to be mature, great, big men that can be on your O-line and your D-line, because that's where the winning happens on your lines.
That's a bit of a stereotype. I'm not going to let you go and say that is, if you look at the average age of BYU, they're much closer to the middle of the pack in the Big 12.
I agree. Well, I agree, but I just love that. I actually admire that. And so
I wish we could, I wish on their missions, 2 days a week, they were doing NFL scout stuff. I would love that. But they don't get to, the only thing they can really do is play basketball. So
yeah. Well, and I would say, Bomber, I got about 2 weeks worth of busy life. So I'll see you in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
If we could do something then. We do believe strongly, there's plenty of buzz around here that Prime actually has signed an extension, but he's keeping it quiet.
Okay.
And that he's going to let Shadur and the boys have all the publicity through the draft.
I love
And
it.
then as soon as the draft is over, he'll probably publicize it. We hired a really good D-line coach today, and Coach D'Amato Pico, a former D-line guy. We hired some great O-line coach, one of the
Yeah,
greatest
running
buffs
back
ever.
coaches in the
Running back
country
coach.
ever.
Yeah. Our O-line, we hired Andre Gerard. I don't know if you remember who he was.
No.
He was on our 2001 team that mauled Nebraska. He's a great, he played it for the Cowboys for 10 years.
Okay.
So love what's happening, but I got 2 weeks of busy life, and great show, guys. I'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you very much,
so much,
Fergie. It's so
Fergie.
good to see you.
Thanks.
We appreciate your time, and I love that you've become part of the family around here, Fergie. I'm going to add you to the masthead here pretty quick. Okay, now we got one of our number one fans, a guy who's come in and been a moderator for us and stepped up. And all I can say, Jackson, is thank you so much for your hard work. We appreciate it so much. And will you send me a message on Twitter? And I need just send it to B12 Mafia.
Absolutely, man.
I have some questions for you. I think there's some more things you can do to help us.
Absolutely, man.
Awesome. Okay, well, what are your thoughts tonight?
Well, if we're having to choose between 14 or 16, might as well go to 16, because like 12, 14, that's just irritating to me.
Yep.
I'd prefer to go to 8 or, +1 system, but we're not going there anytime soon.
Right.
It has to get to a point where pretty much everyone is mad. It has to affect them personally.
Right. How do you feel about this negotiation on auto bids? 4-2, 3-1, whatever those combinations would be for the Power 4 conferences. You're a fan of a SEC team, a monster. How do you look at that from the outside?
Honestly, the auto bids, you got to earn your way, in my opinion. I don't think you should just like get in because you're from a certain conference.
Okay.
You got to have the big wins.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's nice to hear ideas from people who aren't directly involved, right? You guys are going to be set no matter what.
Yeah.
But everybody else is sort of fighting for what they can get left. Moen, do you have any questions for Jackson?
Yeah, I would just say this, that the 14-16 argument, I believe 14 is in the contract already, that it can go from 12 to 14. 16 would require them to renegotiate a little bit with ESPN. Because I believe the contract is either
contract that
is
sucks.
12 or 14. It has the ability to go to 14, but to flex to 16 right away does require some kind of negotiation with ESPN, which I'm sure ESPN would love that. But again, I think the first thing we got to do is get the schedule fixed.
Yeah.
You need to start football.
I'm sure you remember like when Fox entered the NFL scene in the 90s.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
Yeah, because it was like back then it was known as like the Al Bundy Homer Simpson network.
It was. Yep.
Now we're hearing reports about Netflix possibly taking the NFL away from CBS or Fox.
Yep.
And because like it's funny though, I'm old enough to remember where Netflix was. You just rent a DVD at Publix or Walmart or any grocery store.
Got it in the mail. You just ordered it online.
Exactly. And then it went over to House of Cards, their first ever show ever.
You're exactly right.
And then, they got their own little cartoons like Big Mouth and BoJack Horseman, all that stuff.
Yep.
And now they're entering the sports scene, which it's not a matter of if, when they will, but when. And I'm telling you, they're going to enter the NFL scene. It's going to happen. And eventually, with the college football playoff expansion, you're going to see Netflix enter the college football scene before the end of this decade. It's not a matter of if, but when. You are going to see college football on Netflix. It's going to feel a little bit weird for some people, but for those that are looking at the history of all television contracts and sports history, it's not so weird.
Jackson, you're right on. You're exactly right. They are trying to buy the excuse me, late window times from the NFL and supplant CBS or Fox. If that was to happen, it literally the universe would change because, well, we all know how they do it with single games, right? Christmas was amazing for Netflix. And they want to do that every week. So I agree with you. I think it's a matter of when and not if, but we have to get to there, right? So the next 4, 5, 6 years are going to be tumultuous.
Oh yeah, I mean it's gonna happen, and they'll get it. They'll get it all. They got that money. They'll make it happen. Because I mean that's why you're seeing like the prices skyrocket on Netflix. Like, wait a minute, I'm paying $16 a month, but now I'm paying $32 a month. Well,
Right.
that's why.
Right.
Because there's the executives are scrounging up enough money to get into the NFL industry and the college football industry. NHL is not making that kind of money here in the South, making a lot of money in the Midwest and in Canada, not anywhere in California. I don't think it's making a ton of money in Oklahoma.
Very good. Moen, any other questions before we let him
Well,
go?
I would say Netflix is one, but we can't count out Amazon either. Prime
No,
Video,
you can't.
that's
you
another
can't.
one.
Yep.
Peacock needs content. Paramount Plus. This is all becoming streamer related.
Yes.
We got rid of cable, and we got streamers, and the streamers just became cable.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's. I can't believe Jackson is talking about renting DVDs when I remember renting VHS and Betamax.
Well, I'm old enough to remember that because I was a little boy when that happened.
But
all right.
I never remember renting a DVD, but I do remember renting VHS and Betamax.
I remember seeing people doing that. Oh man, I wish we'd go back to VHS and DVD.
I rented, well, my dad rented laser discs.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That came out and really were the big deal for about 5 Betamax, right? So I've seen all these technology changes, the internet and computers and phones. It's a different world, and everything's going to be thrown over. And Moen has said this so many times. I hope people know it. Of everybody in the rooms right now in these negotiations, Brett Yormark is the number one guy to put at the head of the table to build on something like we're describing. A ginormous package worth billions and billions of dollars to play games for the best football teams around.
Yeah, because I mean, the SEC, Big Ten aren't even talking about doing TV contracts with Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime. If I'm the Big 12, I want to stand out. So what I'm going to do is put some of my games on Amazon Prime. And plus, it gives Al Michaels better games to call. And, for those that look back at Al Michaels, he did used to call college football games from 77 to 85.
Absolutely true. All right, we're going to let you go, Jackson, again. Send me a message
Jackson.
and we'll talk, okay?
Absolutely, man.
All right. Thank you so much for all your hard work. I really, really appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out.
We will. You too.
We'll try.
Bye-bye. Tell you what, smartest guy in the room. I know he's less than half my age and is up on stuff more than I am, way more in tune. His history lesson there, Moen, was inspiring.
Renting DVDs making us all feel old.
Well, I can look a lot older. Anyway, Ryan Willie checking in again, valuable member of the Mafia family, $5 super chat saying, I thought OITNB came before House of Cards. Which one is that one?
Orange is the New Black.
Wasn't that an HBO program?
No. These were both on Netflix. They were both.
Well, I know about House of Cards.
House of Cards is actually a remake of a British show.
I knew that. I've seen the original.
But if piece of trivia, useless trivia, if you guys want it, that sound whenever you start up Netflix, that dun dun, that is actually from House of Cards. That is Kevin Spacey's knock on the Oval Office desk.
That's exactly right.
And that's I think you might be right. Orange is the New Black may have come out,
I think,
shortly before, but they were right there at the beginning. House of Cards, Orange is the New Black. All I Want is a new series of Mindhunter. 2 seasons was definitely not enough for that show.
You want to talk about one of the best shows ever made that petered out because of things, was the House of Cards.
Well,
it was so good. I mean, from top to bottom, that show was so good.
Yeah, it got to be like Dexter, where it just got to the point where it was just everything was unbelievable every week. How they keep getting away.
I know, but it was fun, man. Anyways, I got to let that go. I could go on that for hours. We're an hour and 16 minutes into this show, and I can't believe it. This has gone so fast. I want to thank everybody for being here. Go ahead, Nolan.
Yeah, I want to give Badger sound effect to Ryan.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, please.
I hope that somebody's out there watching this on their mobile phone out in the wild somewhere, and a badger hears that, and it's a mating call or something, and a badger starts humping their leg.
Let's do a quick reset. We're an hour and 15 minutes into the show. We're going to go probably another half hour. I've got 32, so we'll double that. I've got over 60 comments that we've already flagged that we could bring up and talk about and everything else. From here on forward, we'll probably have to have super chats if you really want to get your opinion out. And that's simply because the show eventually has to end, and we can't just keep reading these over and over again. So we'll do the best we can with the comments we've already got flagged. And then, keep leaving them. If you're on Twitter, they come through too. We see those. I want to do a quick reminder. If you're on Twitter, as the instruction, the reader on the bottom of the screen says, jump over to YouTube, type in College Football Mafia Network, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment or question. We try to read those things and react in real time to those. Also, hit us up on Twitter. You can see both our Twitter names right there. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, subscribe on Twitter, and then turn on your notifications on Twitter and on YouTube. We really appreciate that. And man, we're growing, guys. We're growing. Real quick, I'll just bump our member videos. If you're a Mountain West or a Pac-12 or an AAC fan, you're going to want to become a member and watch the member videos. They will hit you where it counts, and it's only data. It's very rarely does you put in opinion in those, and then you guys can make up your own mind. I saw a comment here. I want to answer this directly. Because this is what I do. I answer things directly. Let's see here. Check it out. Left a comment. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, it's gone. What happened? Check it out. Left a comment about, in fact, here's a reference to it. I'll just read Steele Austin's reply. Check it out. Locked on Big 12 is focused on clicks. If you're going there for your source of truth, you're in the wrong place. We don't knock any other channels down. All we can do is talk positive about ourselves. And that is, everybody can go get excited and be upset. Rail for a half hour into a video camera about how bad the Big 12 is getting shafted, or the ACC, or the G6 is getting shafted. Go ahead and do all those things. Free world, go ahead. What we're trying to do is say, okay, what's next? Right? Like West Wing, talk about a great show. The president always said, what's next? And that's where we're at. And we're trying to help you with the information that's out there. And then we do provide an analysis here. We are opinion people. But we usually try to be educated. So anyway, Steele, thank you very much for representing us. Check it out. I couldn't find your comment. I apologize. I did have it flagged, and then I think I might have accidentally unflagged it. But your opinion is just as valid as Steele's. And yeah, we invite everybody to go out and watch other shows. That's where you want to be. All right, let's work backwards, shall we?
Okay.
Let's go start off with Trent Brown, my brother's namesake, always checking in, representing the Big 12 and BYU. Big 12 and ACC should fight for an auto 2 each, and a third from an ACC versus Big 12 third place game. Ooh, I like it. The winner gets the third auto bid. How creative is that, Moen?
I don't have a problem with that, but you have to include Notre Dame as an ACC team in that.
I would agree with that. But I don't think Notre Dame wants to be included. I think they still
well,
want to be
I know Notre Dame
themselves.
doesn't think that, but, you know, again, I think they should be.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and if I know Brett Yormark, he's got that on a whiteboard somewhere in Big 12 offices. I think it's a great idea. So you basically have 5 spots for the Big 12 and the ACC. They all fight for the one between them. That would be fantastic TV. People would watch that game.
Oh, sure.
It would be huge, in fact. Huge. Very insightful. Great idea, Trent. It's great to see you. Thanks for being here tonight. Daniel Gygax again. It also used to be here was only 2 to 3 games on TV on Saturdays. Now every game is available with the internet.
Yeah, I remember that. I grew up in the country. I had the antenna with the coat hanger and the tin foil and everything else trying to get Ohio State games in. So, yeah, it used to be only 4. Try and tell kids these days now. Used to only be 3 channels. I remember when the 4th channel came out. And now you've got 2,000 channels.
Yep.
You got ESPN Ocho. You got
Yep.
8 ESPN channels now.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely
lots of
true.
choices.
Immaculate checking in saying Colorado ASU, that's Arizona State, and BYU are leading the way in culture in the Big 12. Right today, I think he is spot on.
I would add Utah. I know you don't want to hear that because you're
Well, no,
BYU
I have
fan.
no. I would say Utah. I think they have a culture problem still. I think their AD is off the chart, kind of crazy, and they have a coach that is a 25-year vet or whatever, but the world's passed him by. So I don't think Utah's done that yet.
All right, listen, I'm not going to judge them based off of one season. You said it yourself earlier. They won 2 Pac-12 titles on the way out of that conference.
They did.
So
it was a diminished pack, I would argue. But anyways, I get what you're saying. I would happily add Utah. I think BYU and Utah are 2 sides of the same coin.
Iowa State, I would add Iowa State as well. I think with what Matt.
Yeah,
King's
probably Iowa State. You could say that, but then
Yeah.
you look at Texas Tech. They're rebuilding.
They're
right?
rebuilding, but Joey McGuire, he did have a little bit of a letdown season last year.
West Virginia was down, right? They
down.
got a new coach. You got brands that are out there. They need to make the shift from winning, buying players to a culture of success.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And people mentioned it all the time that Ohio State bought their team this year. There were a lot of seniors on that team, and you're going to see that next season. Abuka was a senior. Jack Sawyer was a senior. Tui Molau was a senior. That team was stacked with seniors that were developed at Ohio State.
It'll be fun to see what next year's team looks like. I can't wait for that. Will Howard will be gone. So, yeah, I love it. Expansion Crush, good to see you, man. The only reason every talking head is touting Texas right now is because of the Manning name. Have they jumped off a page somewhere saying Texas is the team to beat next year? I haven't seen that.
I've seen a lot of people picking Texas, which isn't a bad pick because they do have a lot of good people coming back. So
right, okay. I hadn't seen that. Glenn Hanna again. Ohio State might have eased up in the second half. They had next round to start considering. I completely agree with you. That game was over at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, when you're up that much at halftime, you're not going to put your gas or the pedal to the floor in the second half. So.
Absolutely. Check it out. Another comment. Good to have you here. Check it out. By the way, it's good to see you. Media companies are forgetting after the MLB strike, NFL Spygate, NHL strike, fans left the sport. Of course, you can't deny that. Every time there's been a work stoppage, these leagues have had to rebuild some of their fandom.
Yeah, you're going to lose some fans, but you're hoping to gain some fans. I mean,
I think the only thing that's going to really shake the world in this regard is if the players go out and they say we're not going to work anymore without unified changes. That's the only thing that would break up the monopoly and would change the power dynamics. If the players got together and you had thousands of them go on strike on the same day, and it has teeth.
Yeah,
that could happen.
Could happen. We got some super chats here.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, more super chats. Sorry, go ahead.
Trent Brown, great show, gents. You and PATC are the best.
Thank you so much, Trent. Let's give him a sucking it. Let's do that one, Moen.
Let's see.
A lot of people watching right now maybe have not heard sucking it.
Of course, Wild Ute, the famous Wild Ute.
They've been sucking you, and you're sick of it. I get it.
That's an inside joke.
Trent.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Moen. I didn't mean to talk on top of you.
And then we got another one from Ryan Willie, the Evil Badger. Greg thinks Minnesota is going to keep keep it permanently. The axe.
Evil Badgers, right?
I think Greg is just afraid of too many cheeseburgers. There is no way Minnesota will keep that axe permanently. Wisconsin's got the toughest. I think looking at the schedule right now, Wisconsin's got the toughest schedule in the country next year. But I think they're trying to go back to their old ways. They're trying to go for a run first offense, big glass eaters up front. Hopefully in year 4, Fickle can get it turned around. I still think Fickle's a great coach.
Let me ask you this. We'll have to have a show just on Minnesota with Greg, because I find this, his school has a pedigree of national championships. A lot of people don't know that because they were a long time ago. They're very proud, Minnesota is, and they're spending money. They got a coach, and they're giving him money to win. He's building a culture of winning, and they're getting 4- and 5-star players. I know it's hard to believe, but they're if you're just looking at the roster, they're doing what they can to win. They can't beat Ohio State in the brand game, but they can build a team to compete. And I honestly believe Minnesota just needs 1 year of success. And when I say success for Minnesota, I say 9 wins, that I think they can sustain that. I think it's possible.
I think the great thing about conference games, and I think the great thing if the SEC does go to 9, which I hope they do, I hope the ACC does as well.
If the SEC does, the ACC absolutely will.
The best thing, conference games, you can never pick a winner in a conference game.
Right.
Ohio State was favored by like 30 points over Michigan.
Yeah.
Lost that game, went on to win a national championship. So there's some great teams that just sometimes have completely dumbass afternoons. I can't tell you how many times, and this is the other great thing. You brought it up earlier. I don't want to get too far off topic, but
You're okay. Go ahead.
the expanded playoff. It used to be Ohio State had a blowout loss to Iowa, and that kept them out of a 14 playoff.
That's right.
They had a blowout loss to Purdue 1 year, kept them out
Notre
of a 14
Dame
playoff.
losing to Northern Illinois.
That would have kept. Well, they probably would have went into the 4 team, I think.
I don't know.
But look at it this year. Ohio State, number 8.
Yep.
2 losses in the Big Ten Conference.
Yep.
Able to run the table in playoffs. So
yep.
If it goes to 14, it just means more opportunities. If it goes to 16, it means more opportunities.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the fact you brought up Utah beating Oregon in the Pac-12 the last 2 years.
Right.
I think most people would agree Oregon was a better team.
Well, on paper, they certainly were.
On paper, they certainly
Absolutely
were. Bo
were.
Nix, I mean, but
that culture, it's that. I'm telling you right now, culture wins more games today than it ever has in college football.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but let's say that Oregon team got into the playoffs. Who's to say they couldn't have went on a run like an Ohio State?
I agree with you. That's why the expanded playoff is so good.
Yeah, won a 12-team playoff, won a 14-team playoff.
If you really want to hear it, I would love they go to 32.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Ryan. Much appreciated.
Appreciate it, Ryan.
I think you'll get that axe back eventually. Don't worry about it.
Trojan fight. Valuable member of the Mafia family. Good to see you here, Trojan Fight. Really appreciate everything you do for us. Being a member, that might have been a gift membership, but I would encourage you to watch those member videos and then come back and tell us that you don't want to make that a permanent membership. Anyway, Utah, a non-factor now that they don't got their Super Bowl USC every year. Well, that was the
again.
Super Bowl.
You can't base it off of one. Again,
Yeah.
Utah had one bad season.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, because they went all in on camerizing.
Yeah, it is. That's
And
exactly
I think
right.
that was the wrong thing to do.
Yes.
And I think Kyle Whittingham knows that now. It's hindsight's 2020, but USC didn't do itself any favors last season either. So
Yep. Yep, that's absolutely true. Let's get to some more comments here. Let's see. We got 2 super chats. Jackson Johnson following up says House of Cards started in February, and Orange is the New Black came in July. So they were both on Netflix, but I thought House of Cards was first. But how quick did he pull that up? He took that off the top of his head earlier. That's pretty good stuff. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jackson. See here, Steel Austin check it out. Absolutely, that's in reply. Let's see if I can get. Gosh, I need the first ones. Is it this one? This season was so exciting. I think we all can agree If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The P2 wants more money and to control college football. I check it out. You're right. They do. But do they have the ability to take it over right now? I think they don't.
This is a great point. Check it out. And we mentioned it earlier. Leadership is the word of the day. Leadership is the word of the day. Somebody has to lead this thing.
Yeah.
It's unsustainable the way it is now.
Yeah.
It simply is. We need to get somebody who can oversee tampering, who can oversee bagmen, who can oversee all this.
Refereeing, make that unified.
Officiating.
Fix.
Yeah. Officiating. We didn't get a chance to get into it tonight, but On3 has a great article. I'll try and post a link to it. 10 worst officiating calls this season.
Oh, yeah.
Texas ASU bowl game was number 1. The targeting that wasn't
the Miami. Oh yeah, that was horrible.
The Miami one was in there too. But you know, there's so many issues with college football, and we need leadership.
Yes.
And I know people don't like the Big Ten and the SEC, and they view them as the two-headed monster. But somebody's got to step up and lead. And if that leads to a commissioner of college football, and the Big Ten and SEC push for that, I don't have a problem with that. I think if we're moving to a semi-professional model, I have no problem with a commissioner. I think we should have uniform officiating.
So let's do some interaction here. I don't know if it's possible. Check it out. Can you in the comments, if you're still watching, let us know whether you could join the show for a few minutes. I have some really big questions for you, and I'd love to do it live. If you have time to do that, just reply that you can join, and I'll post the join link, and we can talk to you for a few minutes. But I want to get to one thing about this, and it goes to your comment earlier. Just to scream and holler is not going to change anything. Just to complain and bitch and be upset and say you're screwed, and that doesn't empower at all. In fact, it makes you less powerful if you're talking about it in a business setting. The more you complain and bitch, the more people tune out. The ones that get ahead, the ones that everybody says, why'd he get the job ahead of me, are the guys that actually engage and are part of the solution. That's what big businesses want. Is guys that are going to be part of the solution.
I agree with you. It's okay to be angry. It's understandable to be angry. But at some point, you've got to come to the table and just put that anger aside and actually get something done.
Hey, Steele, it's good to see you, man. It's about time we had you on.
Hey, thanks, guys. I was just seeing if this would work or not. I wasn't sure how this platform worked, but I'm glad I got on here. Thanks for letting me join for just a minute. You guys do a great job. I love the show. So thanks for all you guys do.
Well, you're recent to us, so we really appreciate that.
No, it's great. I love the content. There's just so many great podcasters out there like you guys, like PATC and no, I appreciate all the content you guys put out there. I just want to get your take, especially Moen. I just was curious. One of the things I've been thinking about, because everyone's kind of pointing, you guys have been talking about it, everyone's talking about it with this whole new, the announcements that came out that's pointing towards a potential breakaway in the P2 in about 2031 is when, it may or may not happen, or down the road. I know you guys are thinking maybe longer than that, but nevertheless, I think where everyone's big concern is, and rightfully so, is okay, well, if the P2 breaks away, it sucks that there's going to be all these, Purdue, Rutgers, those type of teams that are, already grandfathered into the big, already grandfathered into the SEC that don't belong there over a, name your ACC or Big 12 team that, is a better program, a better brand. So Moen, I guess I'm curious what your take is on this thought. One solve I see that has a potential, but I don't know. It seemed a lot more likely back when the legendary Gene Smith was your guys' AD. But if you had like Gene Smith and Swarbrick at Notre Dame, you had the big ADs across the country of the blue blood schools, let's say the top 8, leading out and doing Bomber. You'll remember this back when Utah and BYU were in the old WAC.
Sure.
We left the WAC to form the Mountain West Conference, right? So, one fix that I could see that really would bring in the top 32, 40, whatever brands, whatever the number is that you want to bring in. I think the best solve would be having the very biggest names in college football, not Petitti, not Sankey, but having the blue blood schools lead out and really forming, creating that super league that brings in everybody, if that makes sense.
Sure it does.
I hear where you're coming from, Steele, but it's difficult to explain to people who aren't Big Ten people. The Big Ten Conference has been together for 100+ years. Ohio State, yes, Ohio State's a blue blood. Ohio State didn't win their first national championship until the 1940s. Prior to that, Michigan and Minnesota were dominating the Big Ten Conference. Purdue was putting out winners.
Yeah.
So I understand looking at it from modern terms and going, oh, Purdue doesn't deserve to be in because Purdue football is awful. But you're never going to see the Big Ten, anybody in the Big Ten, even the Blue Bloods. You're not going to see Michigan. You're not going to see Ohio State. You're not going to see Penn State to a lesser extent. They're fairly new. But even then, you're not going to see Penn State want to kick these guys out. I don't think in 2031 we're getting a Power 2 breakaway. I think we're getting a Power 3 breakaway. I think the ACC is probably going to get demoted a little bit, similar to what happened.
Brands.
They're going to lose brands, and but they're still going to survive, but they're going to lose brands.
Yep.
And I think the mid-tier brands in that conference end up going to the Big 12.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to have a Big 3. I think you're going to have, yes, the Big and the SEC are going to be, your two 40-40 partners, and the Big 12 might be your 20 partner, but they're not going to be able to get rid of the Big 12. There's just too much area of the country, fan bases, things they can't get rid of. They can't get rid of the Big 12. They're probably not going to absorb. I can't see either of these conferences wanting to go to 24. That just dilutes the pay rate for everyone. Fergie mentioned it earlier. Colorado possibly being a candidate for the Big Ten. Utah has often been mentioned as a candidate for the Big Ten.
Yeah,
California, Stanford have been mentioned as candidates for the Big Ten. Georgia Tech, me and Immaculate mention that all the time. I don't know that they're going to happen that way. I don't know what the SEC and Big Ten are going to do. I mentioned it to Ryan Thomas earlier this week. I could see the Big Ten just not taking anybody in the South. I could see the SEC saying, hey, that's our sphere of influence. Don't take a team out of Florida. Don't take a Georgia Tech out of Georgia. Don't take one of the Carolinas.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten will say, you're right. We'll just stick with the North and we'll take what's left in the West, and that'll be the piece.
We've heard from sources that are unequivocally in the know that the numbers that they've been talking about up to and including today is a league between 40 and 48 schools.
Yeah.
And those schools would be, and complain or not complain, all the SEC, all the Big Ten, Notre Dame, and then brands that will be invited to participate. And that's why it's so important now. You're a fan of Utah, right? You want Utah to go out. You've starved your basketball program to stay relevant in football, and the plan worked. But now it's time to take a step back, I think, with a different AD, and you say, look what BYU is doing and try to model it.
See, I mean, we know what's at stake, and we've had, we've known what's going on behind the scenes for a number of years now,
right.
And it's exactly what you just described, Bomber, and that's why Utah's taken the approach of going all in on football to the neglect of basketball.
Yeah.
And
obviously it worked.
Obviously we had a bad year last year. As you guys already mentioned, we went all in on our quarterback, and he got hurt in week 2, and our season, went down the tubes. But we're looking to bounce back, and these next 5 years, the way we're looking at it is we're going all in, and it's all about CFP appearances, and if we can get a couple, that's gonna make a big difference for us in making our case. But we'll see what happens, right? I mean, I going back to the original question, I agree with you, Mo, and I didn't think it was very realistic, but it was the only way I could see as being a possibility because I don't. There's no way the SEC or the Big Ten are going to kick out brands.
No.
But if they were actually going to go and say, hey, we're going to form a whole new league, that's a whole different thing, right? And then you can pick and choose teams that you want to be, you want to be in that league.
And that's where you get this idea. You don't change the conferences at all. There's no more realignment.
Yeah.
All you do is have the brands that have been promoted, and you have an NFC and an AFC.
Well, and the cool thing about that, Bomber, is then you could actually really, bring back all of the regional rivalries, like a Utah BYU, because let's be honest, Bomber, right now, BYU's in a real bad spot if that were to happen, the P2, because, you're not a fit for the big. And I don't know if the SEC, if where you guys are located geographically, if it really, but BYU is a great brand. But right now, it doesn't look good. I mean, if you're a BYU fan, you got to be hoping that the Big 12 remains keeps a seat at the table.
Right.
If you're a Utah fan or an ASU fan, you got to be hoping that you can find and scratch and claw your way into a seat at the table. Right.
Yeah, if it's on the P2 level, I still don't think that happens.
What?
There's schools that we don't need to devolve. Let's not devolve. Let's keep it clean.
No. I'm not trying to devolve. No. Yeah, I agree.
You're all good. You're all good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just saying, you look at it from your own fan perspective and what you got to do to get to where you want to hopefully go. But
sure.
Anyway, I think it's interesting. It's fun to follow and my whole take and on the whole thing is being a Utah fan is, and I know this goes against what a lot of people feel about it, but I'm a huge college football fan. And even if Utah is left on the outside looking in, I mean, they are my team, obviously, and everybody on this podcast loves your team and you want your team to be there.
Of course.
But even if my team is on the outside looking in, I still would rather watch the best of the best play each other. I love the big matchups. I love the idea of a mini, called an NFL light Super League. I love that.
Right.
And if Utah's not part of it, so be it. I don't want to see Ohio State playing directional schools and, FCS opponents and Alabama playing two of them in a season. I'm tired. I don't want those wasted games. I want the best of the best. So the whole concept is really exciting to me, but I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, let me ask you a question, Steele. Don't you think the scheduling agreement, if there was a Big Ten SEC scheduling agreement, a Big 12 Big Ten scheduling agreement, a Big 12 SEC scheduling agreement, that you could get the same things without having to get rid of conferences?
I absolutely do. My problem with the scheduling agreement is with a 9-game conference schedule for the Big and the SEC, that's 9 P2 out of your 12 games, right? Now you form a scheduling agreement. We don't know what it's going to be yet between the Big and the SEC, but there's speculation it's going to be a home and an away game within the same season, right? So it's either 10 or 11 P2 games on your schedule. I don't see there being any room for the Big and the SEC to be willing to schedule with the Big 12 or the ACC. I mean, I wouldn't want to if I was them. I'd want to have at least one gimme game to kind of start off our season. And so for me as a Big 12, guy and Bomber for that matter, I would think the Big 12, Yormark and Phillips should be getting together and doing the exact same thing and saying, hey, we got to get our own agreement in place and build up our schedule the best we can, because I don't think the Big and the SEC have any incentive to play us anymore. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, you look at Iowa State, Iowa, that is going to continue to be played. That's a
like
game.
Mo, and it's already been reported that USC is gonna take Notre Dame off their schedule. They're not gonna play them every year.
That's Notre Dame's choice,
which is crazy, by the way.
Notre Dame chose to have a scheduling agreement that lets them pick the 3 best ACC teams basically every season.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. USC is going to have to play an SEC team. They're going to make that up with an SEC team. But I mean, it's still possible. You're right. You've got 3 out of conference games. If you're Ohio State, why wouldn't you want to schedule a Kansas State? You could end up playing Georgia, Kansas State, and a small Ohio team. The thing is, we're always going to play a small Ohio team. It's just It's something our school does because it benefits those. It's on a rotation and it benefits those schools. They basically get to fund their entire athletic department for the year off of that one game.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to see that continue to happen because I want more opportunities. I'm a Big Ten alumnus. I went to Ohio State, but there's a lot of great universities in Ohio, like Bowling Green, Miami, Ohio University, just down the road from me in Athens. I want to see those schools have opportunities for student athletes.
This is where we're going to end up, Moen.
Yeah.
A Champions League with relegation.
I see the
disagree
comment
with
in
that.
the yeah.
No, you know what? 3 years ago, I proposed this on 365 Sports, and had some interaction with David, and then everybody dropped it. So there's proof I actually brought this up 3 years ago, and in my opinion, in 10 years, this is where you could end up, and you don't have to change conferences. I think the changing conferences thing is just dragging everybody down. It costs money. It goes into litigation. It takes forever. It's better if you can just stay where you're at for all your other sports and just play football and promote football as its own thing. And then basketball stays its own thing. That's what I think happens. It's too messy to involve the conferences over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I agree to disagree. Again, I think it'll be a power 3. I think you're going to get Big 12 games scheduled against a big and
I would love that.
opponent.
Obviously, Steele would love that. I just don't.
Yeah. I'm always trying to look at it from the other side's point of view, and I just don't. If I'm really being honest with myself and looking at it from the other side, I don't see it. But as far as for the Big 12 or the ACC for that matter, they'll still exist in my opinion. But I'd see it just being like the same way the G5 was to the P4. I think the G5 and the mid 2 are going to get squeezed to pay more towards the P2. And, that's you're going to have a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3 is what is the only thing that makes sense to me. But we'll see how it plays out. But I don't know.
I don't think the Big 12's ever going to reach the level of the Big 10 or the SEC.
No, that's set in stone now. That's solidified.
Right?
I don't think
it's just that's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean they can't be a partner with the Big 10 and the SEC.
That's based not on performance, although performance would lead to that. It's about population, demographics.
Right.
The
Big
SEC
10
and
and the
Big
SEC
10 have all the population. That's the thing.
And we have the coveted eyeballs for advertisers. But
Absolutely.
Listen, Colorado is a great example. Fergie brought up Colorado. Dion is building a program out there. That program could go on a run and win a couple national championships.
No question. And the concern is if Dion leaves, right? I mean, then what happens?
Right. Well, there's nothing we can do about that. So why worry about it?
Just got to make sure you got the next guy in line on your
that's
staff.
all you can do is take
that's all you can really do. But I mean, we're not saying the Big 12 can't win a national championship. There's 3 or 4 teams in the Big 12 right now that could compete for a national championship next year.
Yeah. Well, you guys doing a great job. I appreciate the airtime. It's great to talk to you guys.
Hey, hit me up on Twitter. if you want to do this more. Wild Utte's doing more Wild Ute University stuff. He's smarter than I am. So I would love. I had Fergie come on. I'm talking to other people. If you want to be on the show for an appearance here or there, hit me up on Twitter and we'll talk about it.
Sounds great, guys. Thanks for the airtime.
You bet. Yep. No problem.
Take it easy.
All right, guys. Thanks. Take it easy, guys.
Moen, that was fantastic.
It was, and we need to do more of these open lines, guys. We're going to
agree with you.
Open lines.
Yeah.
Get the phone system. I had the phone system figured out like 9 months ago, but now it's completely. I don't even remember how I got it to work. I remember. I
think we love the call-ins, but unfortunately, we just have challenges with the call-in, so we have to do it. So if you're complaining about the fact you couldn't join through the comment section, we apologize. But right now we don't have a working phone model, and until we do,
it's hard with a panel show to get the phones to work where everybody can hear everybody.
Yeah,
and everybody can talk to the caller.
We need an engineer. If anybody's out there watching, hit Moen up. And we'll talk about setting up a permanent phone line somehow if we can get the technology to work.
I had it work. No. Moen had it working.
I'm not saying you didn't have it working, but right now
it's not forgot how he got it to work.
I know that's the problem. We've gone over by 5 minutes, Moen. I don't want to. I don't want to drain this out. Let's just leave on a high note before we do that.
I just want to
Thanks,
get this,
everybody.
Yeah, want to get this out here. Steve Moser, the collegefootballmafia@gmail.com or collegefootballmafia@gmail.com. Big XII Mafia@gmail.com.
That's right.
Hit us up
I've
on
also
Twitter.
got a Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Look up Big 12 Mafia on Blue Sky. I also have that. I'm not doing a ton with it because I have a hard enough time with Twitter, but it is there. If you don't like Twitter, and a lot of people don't, I am Blue Sky. Just look for Big 12 Mafia on Blue Sky, and then I will try to get over there more and look. It's been a minute since I was there, but if there's people going to engage on Blue Sky, definitely let us know during the show. Do other things, leave comments, because I'll do more on Blue Sky if there's more people there.
Yeah, hit us up at if you just check the about section, you'll find our email address
on the
I've
webpage.
Got it on my phone. It'll pop up for me. I will be able to respond to you. I loved this open lines format.
Always have. We always have.
Such fantastic contributors tonight, guys. Thank you so much.
Well, and I will say this, it's taken a while for people to trust us, Mo, and I think that was part of it. We've done open line shows in the past, and we'll get the same old people to connect. Now we're, 2 years into this almost, and the interactions that we're getting now are because people trust us. They know their opinions matter, right?
Absolutely, and you guys don't have to show your face.
No,
yeah. You're just voice only. It's no different than a phone call. You just jump in and put your name and your handle up there, and we'll add you to the queue. We had like 3 people in the queue at one point tonight. We'll get to you first come, first served, and that's how we'll work it. So definitely something we'll think about doing in the future.
Fun show tonight. It's great to see everybody. Just do us a favor. If you're on Twitter, jump over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button on the College Football Mafia Network channel page on YouTube. I've been down here in the reader below us. You can see how you can get to our YouTube page. Subscribe. That's really important. We're doing a subscription drive right now. And then last but not least, thank you so much to all of the donations, all the money special chats, all the super stickers, and probably most importantly are those memberships.
Absolutely.
Earl Carr, go ahead, Mo.
Earl Carr, thank you so much. We will go ahead and do a Jayhawk squawk into a cougar.
There we go.
Silence the Jayhawk squawk. Earl Carr, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships and the $10 super chat. Our friend Ricky Tungate, the Hoosier Man, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Ryan Willie, thank you for the 2 super chats. Evo Badger, much appreciated. Getting ready for those Brewers games. And Trent Brown, thank you for the super chat as well. We appreciate all of you. Fantastic show. Thanks for joining us. We will do it again soon. Otherwise, we will see you guys on the Big Freaking Friday show.
One last thing. I'm going to do a pitch. If you want to do what we're doing, if you want to get involved and be in a show, for that matter, be with a culture. We're building a culture here, the Mafia Network culture. Everybody's part of the team. Everybody's part of the family. If you want to be more involved on that side, like Jackson is, we can use the help. I've got all kinds of jobs that we simply just don't have the bandwidth to get to. Let's talk. Hit me up on Twitter. Hopefully you can reach me on Twitter or Blue Sky. And let me know what you'd like to do. We have some spots open. Contributors, background people that can moderate. And there's some other jobs that I'm not going to tell anybody about. I wanted that invitation's out to everybody, and then we'll talk to you and go from there. Other than that, Moen, last words.
Nobody panic. Let's wait and get the details first. Nobody panic.
Yeah, I would just say RELAX. As Aaron Rodgers says, take a deep breath. 1, nothing's set in stone yet. And 2, once you know what your future is, you can begin to plan. And up to now, it's been a crapshoot. There's been nothing to plan on. In my opinion, this news, and hopefully the full report will come soon after, especially with the CFP conversation next week. Once that happens, now all of a sudden Brett Yormark can go to work because he'll know what's in front of him. Right now, nobody knows what the hell's going on. And as long as it's chaos, the only people that are going to win are going to be the SEC and the Big Ten. We know that. So let's get some structure, deep knee bend. It'll be okay. Anyway, thanks everybody. Appreciate you. Have a great night. Stay out of trouble. We will see you Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern for the Big Freaking Friday show. Another one of our classic shows. If you're a new member or just watching on Twitter and want to become a member, jump over to our YouTube page. Hit that subscribe button. There's a join link there to become a member of the Mafia family. And now all of a sudden you can get access to our members only videos. They're out there, and they're the best in the business, in my opinion. Everybody have a great night. For Moen, for Wild Ute, for Becky, and for Pickles, and for Fergie, and for Jackson. Daniel Gygax.
And Immaculate.
Immaculate. Thank you so much. All these people that have helped us get where we're at. We're very grateful, and continue to do what you do. We will see you Friday night, unless something breaks in the news, and then maybe tomorrow we'll do something else. Have a great night. Stay out of trouble. Bye-bye. Peace.